Hey y'all, so are you looking for a nonprofit fundraising strategy? Are you a new nonprofit and you have no money and you're struggling to figure out what to do? I have the perfect strategy to share with you today. It's called peer-to-peer fundraising. I'm going to break it down in this video. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, it's Tiffany with Boss on the Budget. I help new and small nonprofits get up and running. If you need help with your nonprofit, make sure you subscribe to this channel because I drop videos every week. So today I'm talking about one of my favorite fundraising strategies for new nonprofits. It's called peer-to-peer fundraising. If you follow me on any of my other channels like Instagram or Facebook, you've probably heard me talk about it because it's such a powerful strategy. And in this video, I'm going to share with you why it's so powerful and why you should be using a peer-to-peer fundraising strategy if you're a new nonprofit. I also want you to stay tuned to the end of this video because I use the same strategy that I'm going to talk about today to help a new nonprofit raise a lot of money in 6 months. But I'm going to wait to the end of the video to share with you just how much. I want to see if you can guess the actual number, and I'm going to share it at the end of this video. Now, if you watch me on Instagram or Facebook, you probably know the number, but I'm going to share it anyway at the end. So I have a 9-step framework which helps you figure out how to execute a peer-to-peer fundraising strategy. And I've actually written out this 9-step framework in my free worksheet, which is down below in the description box. And if you need help executing the strategy, I also have a workbook that you can purchase that takes you through every single step so you can do it yourself. But before I talk about the framework, I just want to define what peer-to-peer fundraising is, because at this point, if you don't know what it is, you've probably been waiting for me to say it. What is it, Tiffany? So peer-to-peer fundraising is a way to get basically other people to fundraise on your organization's behalf. So you get people who volunteer, who sign up to raise a certain amount of money, and then based on the work that they do, you're able to secure more donors, you're able to secure more funding. Now, I love peer-to-peer fundraising strategies for new nonprofits because, in order to get people to give to you, you got to build up trust. They have to have confidence that you're the right organization. But when someone they trust is asking them, they're way more likely to give than if it was your organization directly asking. So it kind of skips over that step where you have to build trust and community with people. And it just kind of skips over all of that. And people really do give when they have other trusted people asking them about a cause that they care about. So peer-to-peer fundraising can look very different. You can use a bunch of different strategies using the basic principles where you're just getting people to fundraise for you. You've probably seen this before in your own life. If you've seen like a 4K race or someone's doing a walk and they're setting up teams and they're raising money for their teams on behalf of the organization, right? Or you've seen this on Facebook where people start their own fundraisers. They talk about an organization they really care about and they're raising money for the organization. It's the same kind of thing. It just looks differently. So you can use these basic principles and add your own spin to it and still be successful. So I'm going to lay out a basic framework, but you can build on that framework to kind of, make it more effective for you or tailor it to your needs or the specifics of your organization. But as long as you have these basics, you should be good. Okay, so are you ready? We're going to talk through the 9 steps. So the first step is to identify your project and set a goal. So it's way more effective, not saying it's impossible, but it's way more effective if you have a specific project or some kind of initiative or something in particular that you're fundraising for, so people feel like they're giving to something or they're giving for something. One way that peer-to-peer fundraisers can be really, really effective is if you put a time limit on it. And if you add to that time limit, okay, this is for a specific project or we're trying to help 100 people, it can motivate people because it seems more concrete. So the first thing you got to do is identify what the heck you're raising the money for. Is it for a specific project? Is it for a specific goal that you're trying to reach for your organization? And then you need to set a monetary goal. How much do you actually want to raise? Is it 5,000? Is it 50,000? Whatever it is, set that overall goal so you have some kind of goalpost for what you're trying to reach. Okay, so the second step is for you to actually map out your goal. So if you know you want to raise $10,000, how many fundraisers are you going to recruit in order to get to that 10,000? So it can be divided up however you want. It could be 20 people raising $500. It could be 10 people raising $1,000. It really depends on the capacity of the people that you're going to recruit, but identify what those goals are. And I recommend you have a little bit more just to be safe if you really want to hit that goal. So if you're saying 10 people need to raise $1,000, I would recruit like 12 people so that you can make sure you actually hit your goal, because not everyone is able, even though they're willing, they're not able to hit their goal. So you just want to make sure that you have kind of a cushion. After you map out the overall goal, you need to then map out the goals for the individuals. I found that it's really helpful to get people to understand how to get to their goal. So if they need to get to $1,000, it may be helpful for them to see, okay, if you get 10 people to raise $100 or to give $100, that will help you get to your goal. Or if you ask, 5 people for this certain amount, that can help you get to your goal quicker. So it does help when you map it out for people, so it doesn't seem as daunting, it doesn't seem as difficult. It's not necessary, but I think it's helpful for people to see it. The third step is to actually design the campaign. So think about what the parameters of the campaign will be. I recommend that you have a time-limited campaign. In my experience, it helps to have at least 30 days for people to be able to raise money on your behalf. But some people do one-day campaigns where they spend like couple of weeks getting people prepared, ready to give on a certain day, right? So some people may do this for Giving Tuesday, where it's like an international day of giving and people know that this is the day to give, so they can prepare people beforehand and then everyone gives on that one day. It just depends on what makes the most sense for your organization, but in my experience, I've usually done campaigns that are at least 30 days. Also, I've done campaigns where people are fundraising together all at once, or people are fundraising on their own timeline. So also consider that as well, whether or not you want people to fundraise all together at the same time or people just fundraise on their own. My preference is for people to fundraise together because I like the idea of competition. I like the idea of camaraderie, but it's not necessary. Play around with what works for you. So in designing the campaign, you need a campaign headline, you need a campaign information sheet, and you need to design the copy for your campaign page, right? So we're going to talk in another step about technology, but you're going to have a page where people go to, where they then create their own pages off of that central page, right? So you need to design the copy. And when I say the copy, it's just the words that you're writing as a part of your appeal. You need to design the copy that goes on that main page, because a lot of people will borrow from that or manipulate it or change it or edit it, revise it to whatever makes sense for them. Your information sheet is just to provide some details to people who want to know more. If they're fundraising on your behalf, some of your potential donors may want to know more about why you're raising the money or what is it for. So you want to have an information sheet for that. And you also want to make sure you have a catchy headline, something that quickly says what you're doing and why you're doing it, right? So help us feed 100 families this winter or something like that. So people are clear from the campaign headline, the purpose of this campaign and why they're giving. Okay, so step 4 is around establishing your thank you protocols. I put this early on because I want you to know that thanking people should be a priority and it should be an ongoing thing, and you should designate who's responsible for thanking and when. So that's what I mean by thank you protocols. Be very clear on how you're thanking people and how you're accepting their donations. So at a minimum, because you're going to be using technology for this, based on my recommendation, you should have your platform that you're using to collect the donations automatically send an email receipt, so they have a receipt for the donation that they gave. But I also recommend that you go above and beyond that, that you send a personalized email to say thank you from the organization and introducing the person to the organization, because remember that you probably don't know them. You probably would have never had any kind of contact with them if it wasn't for this type of fundraiser. So you want to take this opportunity immediately to introduce yourself, your organization, what you're about, why you got started, and all of that. So you can do that a couple ways, but in your thank you email, make sure you say thank you and say, this is what we're doing. This is how your donation has helped. Step 5 is to invest in a donation platform. Now, remember how I said in the beginning of the video that peer-to-peer can look many different ways. You can implement it many different ways, but it's my recommendation that you actually get a platform that was designed to do peer-to-peer to run your campaign. So I don't necessarily recommend Facebook for a number of reasons for this type of campaign, because it's very difficult to get the data from Facebook. Even when you have access, when people allow you to see their information, the data aren't that as robust, and it's just difficult to get information from Facebook sometimes when people donate to your campaign. So I recommend having a platform that is designed specifically for peer-to-peer. So in my worksheet, I give you some examples of companies that have peer-to-peer technology and capabilities, but most donation platforms or payment gateways that are designed for nonprofits have some kind of capability to do peer-to-peer. So it's really on you just to do your research and to figure out which one works best for you. Actually, in my workbook, I have like a little chart you can use to compare the different technologies and a list of questions you should ask yourself when making a decision about which platform to use. So if you're interested in that, make sure you check out my workbook. Step 6 is to recruit the right people for your campaign. So in order for this to be successful, you have to have people, right? So you want to make sure that you identify the right people who can help implement this campaign. If you are a new nonprofit, it may make a lot of sense for your board members to be a part of one or several of your first campaigns, because this is an easy way to tap into their own networks. A lot of times board members struggle to figure out how they can help with fundraising, and a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign can help kind of get them out of their shell, and it's an easy way for them to get involved in fundraising. Whereas if you just tell them, hey, go out and ask people for money, it's a lot more intimidating. So you want to think about your board members. You want to think about people who have volunteered on the behalf of your organization. They may be willing. Or think about people who are connected to your cause and fired up about your cause. Extend the invitation on your social media or people you meet in person who you feel like may be a good ambassador or a good spokesperson for your organization. Because remember, these people are going to be going out on your behalf. So you want to make sure you select the right people and people who are motivated to actually help so they can actually do the fundraising. Okay, number 7 by far is the most difficult step to implement. But if you do this, it will be the most effective for you. So step 7 is equipping the team with the right tools. That means you're training and you're preparing the people who are fundraising on your behalf to do it, right? So you can't just tell people, hey, we're a new organization, raise $1,000 for us, and expect by doing that they're going to be successful. In fact, they're probably not, because most people are very uncomfortable raising money, even if it's on another organization's behalf, because some people will say, well, I'm fine asking for money if it's not for me. But even in that, people don't know what to say. People don't know how to approach it. And you don't know what the messaging is if you send them out there with nothing. So when you equip your fundraisers to do this work for you, first of all, you talk to them directly. You get a sense of where they are. You get a sense and help them brainstorm and strategize about who they may contact and who they may reach out to. You make sure they understand the campaign and they understand how to get set up. And you ask them. I like using this opportunity to ask them why they supported, why they gave, because that can help you write your copy, that can help you write your fundraising appeals so that it's in the voice of people who are just like them, and it would appeal to and resonate with people who are similar to them. So a part of this step, you need to, absolutely need to, this is non-negotiable, you need to create a campaign toolkit. A campaign toolkit is like a resource guide for fundraisers. So it would include helpful tips around fundraising. It would include instructions for how to get set up, frequently asked questions about the campaign, how to get in contact with your organization. But it also includes sample messaging for them. So it could include sample emails, sample phone conversations or scripts, sample social media posts, sample images for social media. It includes all of that information that people need to activate their fundraising. I'm gonna say it one more time to make sure y'all got it, because I don't know if you got it the first time, but if you send people out there with nothing, if you don't equip them to fundraise on your behalf, if you don't go above and beyond to give them the tools they need to ask for the money, then it's not going to be as successful as you want it to be. So you need to make sure you prepare people adequately so that they have everything they need, and all they got to do is execute. All they have to do is ask and make sure they follow up. You want to give them all the tools and the resources they need in order to do that. So a toolkit is the perfect way to do that, to increase the likelihood of your success. So in my workbook, I give you some sample language that you can use for social media and email, and also for your thank yous that you can tweak and customize for yourself. So again, check out the workbook if you need help with that. Step 8 is to launch and promote your campaign. So this depends on how you set up your peer-to-peer campaign. If you set it up individually with people where they just can't, they do the campaign on their own time, this may look a little different, but the way I described it in my framework is as if people are fundraising together as a group. So you want to launch on a certain date and have a specific end date for your campaign, and you want to have a launch, right? You want to make it clear to people that, hey, we're doing this, we're starting, we're raising money. So you have to do your own internal communications with the fundraisers to make sure they're prepared and they're ready to go. And you also have to keep in touch with them throughout the campaign to make sure they're supported, to make sure that there are no questions and they're keeping up with the timeline. But along with your internal communications, you also have to manage your external communications, because remember, when people start reaching out to their networks asking for money, then those people who are being asked are going to come to your page and figure out who the heck you are. So you want to be prepared for that influx of traffic. You want to be prepared so that people have a good sense of who you are and the kind of work that you do. So you should have prepared a plan to constantly be posting, to have your website ready, to make sure all your links are working, all that kind of stuff. So if people start reaching out to you and have questions, there's easy ways to get to you, okay? So have a plan for social media especially, so that when people come to you, they see that there's activity on your page, they see that you're an actual organization, they see the faces of the people that they're going to be impacting, they hear the stories of the people that they're going to be impacting, because that will motivate them to give. Step 9, which is the last step, is to close and to celebrate. Don't take this for granted, okay? So just remember, these are people who decided to, on a volunteer basis, fundraise on your behalf, and this fundraising strategy can be very powerful. So it can create a lot of income for your organization, especially when you're new. You don't want to take people for granted, so you want to make sure that you celebrate them, okay? So when the campaign closes, say thank you at the end of the campaign. Make sure that you have like a group call and have people excited about what they did, celebrate the overall goal. Just make it a fun and like a great community atmosphere so people feel like they're giving to a community. They're in it with other people to do good work, okay? So make sure you keep it fun, you keep it lighthearted, and you're thankful and grateful for the work that the people did to help raise money. One thing you can do to increase the effectiveness of the campaign is to put prizes as a part of the campaign. So what if people raise a certain amount of money, or who gets to their goal fastest, or who raises the most money? That may motivate some people to do more. And it depends on the person and the personality. Some people are really competitive. Some people could care less. But it does help to get people energized and make them feel like, again, they're part of a community. They're doing this with people. So that's one thing you may want to think about in terms of prizes and supporting people. Awesome. So you just heard my 9-step framework. I told you that at the end of this video, I would share with you how much I helped an organization raise using this exact framework. Okay. So I helped a new organization. So they have been around for less than a year. Okay. In 6 months, I helped them raise $117,000 using this exact strategy. So if you need convincing that this is something you should be doing as a new nonprofit, please go no further. You absolutely should be using peer-to-peer fundraising strategies. They are so powerful, okay? If you need other ways to make money or other ideas to make money, make sure you check out another video I did, which has examples of earned income strategies that you can use, which is a strategy I also recommend for new nonprofits in their first couple of years to get recurring unrestricted money for their nonprofit. Have you used peer-to-peer fundraising strategies before? If you have, drop your experience in the comments below. I would love to hear more about what you've done. If you have questions for me, you can always visit me at www.bossonabudget.com. And I will see you in the next video.